What's up? What's up? What's happening? It's yours truly, Javon Freeman, back with another one. I want to start this off by saying at the Instagram at the b.o.m.experience. Give me a like, comment, share, subscribe, even dislike, hit the notification bell. Let's get into this. We got a nice video from Pearl Davis from Just Pearly Things. I like where this is going just from the little title, Radical Acceptance. And we're going to see what she gets into that, how she gets into this conversation. I think it's a very good topic to listen into. Radical acceptance is something that I think is a universal principle, but again, has all things are within moderation. Too much of anything is a bad thing. But you know, sometimes you have to go fast to get to a proper speed. Um, but again, we'll get further into that after we get into this video. So let's rock out.
For those of you that are new to this channel, I used to do these a lot where I would just talk about like lessons I learned in life, and the last couple of years I kind of have slowed down on them, but I don't have Pearl Daily this week, so I'm going to give you that guys this instead. So, for those of you that don't know, I became YouTube famous, or I had a really big YouTube channel that blew up overnight. I got 2 million subscribers in 2 years. And, or 1.9 if we're going to be, I know everyone's going to, if we're going to be specific. And I think because the fame like came very fast, there were lessons that like I didn't learn before that normally like people would. I moved to a country where I didn't know anybody, and I brought over friends to talk about red pill topics, and it just blew up. It became one of the biggest podcasts in the US. And when I started, I had a lot more of a traditional point of view. I watched the Daily Wire a lot, and I made a list of things that I thought. I thought that abortion was wrong, and if we just told women and showed them how horrible and gruesome an abortion was, that they would change their mind. I thought that if I just explained to women that the pay gap didn't exist, and that we really are paid the same as men, that they would stop complaining about it. I thought if I told OnlyFans women, hey, you're ruining your life, and this is a really bad idea, that they would stop doing it. I thought that, what else did I write here? I thought like speaking up would do something. It would change some of the trends. I thought the birth rate would start to go back up, traditionalism would come back. And in hindsight, I realized this was a very immature way of thinking. When I was young, society told me that everyone got married, everyone had 2 kids, everyone was going to own a home, and this stuff would just like naturally happen. And the older I got, I really saw the opposite. No one I knew really was having kids. I saw a lot of divorces in the last 10 years from people I thought would never get divorced, like that I grew up with, I grew up around. And then, I started to notice like the subtle disrespect that a lot of people that I thought maybe were happily married, I noticed, oh wow, that man can't even be himself in his own house. And it was almost like a glass got shattered. And in my
That is what we like to call an existential crisis, right? When you realize your reality view or your perception of reality is not what you once thought it was. Now, let's go into this. If she says she tried to fight against this further on, then that's a state of cognitive dissonance. Everybody goes through it to a strong degree, especially when you're coming up against conflicting information. Even I suffered through it. But now your degree of self-awareness will help you get through that process faster. Uh, yeah. All right, let's see where this is going. Let's see where this is going.
I thought, well, let me just tell the women what's going on and maybe things will get better, things will change. And, I saw the opposite happen. I know we have Trump in office now and people think that'll get things better, but, after Roe versus Wade, the number of abortions went up, not down. Um, I saw more sex workers in day to day life. I would go to the gym when I lived in London, and it wouldn't even just be women I met on the show. There would be women at my gym that were porn stars, sex workers, and they became more and more common.
Mm.
I would go to a city and the women would be more and more naked. And I just thought, well, people just need to speak out. That's the problem. And over time, I realized that doesn't do anything.
So that is her getting through cognitive dissonance. The moment she says that doesn't solve anything, that is her accepting that, or not being able to consciously say I was in a state of cognitive dissonance, but that is her actively getting through it. These are behavioral observation signs. And no, not by any means do I have a degree, but well, I sit and I watch people, and I go trial after trial, person per person, case by case. Every person is their own blank canvas, and if they display the same things, hey, it works out. If it don't, note it and move forward accordingly. Um, but that cognitive dissonance, what she is coming to realization within, is that people are going to make their choices. People are going to make their choices. I do this, but people are going to choose whether they want to watch these videos or not. People are going to choose whether they want to be informed or not. It's up to them after a certain point. You can only do but so much. Everybody has their own will to move their own feet. Even if you say, listen, a lot of our life is controlled, we just have the illusion of choice and whatnot. To a strong degree, you still have freedom of choice and freedom of will. The same way I'm breathing right now, I can consciously choose to hold my breath, speak when spoken. There is some degree of choice, and people are going to make their choices. Let's get back into this.
The world is going where it's going. People are going to keep getting divorced. But in all honesty, guys, people say it's blackpilling, but I became a happier person when I just accepted the world as it was. Abortion is never going to be, for example, abortion is never going to be illegal in my lifetime. And if I spent every day thinking that this is an evil and we just have to fight it and we have to stop it, we have to get it illegal, I would be miserable because that will never happen. I would go crazy. And there was a guy I interviewed once that really taught me this. He was 70 or 80 years old, right? And he had been I'm not going to go into the Jewish stuff on YouTube, but that he had been speaking out about it his whole life. And in his goal, he wanted to speak out and stop it, and he was kicked off of everything and etc. And I could just tell how crazy he went. He almost had lost his mind a little bit, because his whole life he spoke out about this one thing and everyone just screamed at him back. Everyone just, got super angry at him back. And I realized, I don't know if there's a Bible verse about laying your weapons down. I'm not the most religious person in the world, so don't quote me. But you become a happier person when you just accept the world as it is. You can maybe hope that it'll get better, but if you expect it to get better, you're going to have a false expectation.
So was she okay? How I can, for men, right, or just for any everyday person, what she's speaking towards is almost like the not so much a plight, But like the irony of a warrior, you go, you learn all these things to fight. You learn all these techniques, all these tidbits. Take somebody's life. You go to war. You fight a life of war, and then you get to a point to where it's like you have no choice but to realize that all the wars you've been fighting, wars are going to keep continuing. Like it's so then it's at what cost? And at some point, you're going to have to lay your weapons down and just hope that one day the wars end. But this is the world you got, and that level of and that's radical acceptance, right? Like putting down your weapon, laying down your sword, is radical acceptance in a battlefield of swords being thrusted at other people. You know what I'm saying? All right, like now I'm at that point right now. I'll be honest. Shit, want to be successful. I see the level of growth I've obtained in my own life. I don't even have the money to show for it, but just my everyday being behavior, how people behave when I come around and whatnot. And I say that humbly. But I've been watching this for the last couple of years. People have watched this around me, and I've observed them observe me, observe those around me and how they interacted. And then I've had private conversations with them. They be like, "Yeah, man, you know you got some type of pull. You know people behave this way around you, this, that, and the third." You know, so and I'm grateful for it. I'm super grateful for it. But I had to radically accept after a certain point, a lot of people won't be able to relate to that. A lot of people are going to be opposed to it because they haven't even gotten to the point to getting there. They haven't gotten through the stages of acceptance, denial, rejection, coping, grief, up, down, fight, grit, determination, just giving your all, having working off of fumes and, you know, getting to a place of growth to where you can tangibly see, there are tangible results for the work that you've put in. Um, you know, and so you and I'm early in this. Like I say it very often to those that have the emotional maturity to hear me speak. I'm early in the game, and I have to accept right now that it's people that I love dearly that ain't never gonna understand what I have to tell them because they haven't even done the intangible work or the the they haven't gained transferable skills in other fields to understand how they apply in a certain field that they say they want to be in. Like, okay, a lot of people watch in America. A lot of people know what American football is. American footballers are known for lifting weights and running on tracks. But the best thing for an American footballer to do is to swim. Swimming is nothing like playing football. It's on land. You're trying to run into people. You're trying to strip the ball away. You're throwing projectiles. Don't get me wrong. There's water polo and things of that nature. But, just swimming within itself is a completely different technique, form, ideology, practice, and philosophy than football. However, the skills of swimming, the transferable skills, the transferable practices certainly do aid um, in your progression on land, whether it's in football, track, and a whole other mirage of things, myriad of things.
Now, this translates also into my personal life. So, the second lesson I learned, it's kind of the same lesson, but the second area I learned this in was ever since I was a kid, I've always been really disorganized. And I think you guys could probably gather this on my channel. Sometimes I can't start at the same time every day. I have a really hard time sticking to like a strict schedule, and I always hated this about myself. I'm just not good with details. And when I was younger, this would translate into like volleyball and basketball. I almost always in every team I was ever on, I got most improved because I really was good at, I could work hard, I tried, I was very coachable, but I just could, when it came to the little things like remembering what jersey to bring in the morning, what time does practice start, like little things, I would just forget. And it was really embarrassing at times, being You go on an away trip, you're the only one that forgets your jersey. It's pretty embarrassing.
Mm.
And or your mom bringing your jersey to school for like the second day in a row. God bless my parents. And I really like was insecure about this, and if my brother ever made fun of me for it, I like would kind of freak out a little bit because it was just like a sore spot. And it would translate in like, I was never like a dirty person, but just sometimes I could be a little disorganized. But this changed when I had a roommate that was very OCD, and she was anal. She knew every single detail about everything. And I didn't envy her organization because it came with the cost of being very high strung. And I've always liked that I'm a laid back person, and I don't really get agitated easily. As you guys have seen on the shows, I'm a patient person. And I realized this whole time I'd been insecure about something, that if I got what I wanted, I would have a negative trait to come with it. And I could have just accepted that's how I am, try to improve, but I could have spent a lot of time not being insecure about this. And again, I became a happier person when I just had radical acceptance. And I know sometimes, maybe on this channel, I seem a little bit black pilled, but when you accept that abortion probably won't change, degeneracy isn't going anywhere, traditionalism is never coming back, religion's going down, and sure, you can protest it, but if you go in with the expectation that it's probably going to get worse, most people are probably going to be single parents, you become a lot happier with what you have, especially if it's better than what you expected, and if it goes the way we think it's going, then you just accept it. Like when you radically accept this is the future, there's like a freedom that comes with it when you stop trying to fight it. So that was something I learned in the last 5 years. And if you relate or you disagree, let me know in the comments. And I'm going to be doing these every day.
All right, yeah. So I think that was pretty good. Um, Radical acceptance. Now, I will say this too. Radical acceptance can also be a nice triggering effect to get you to spark your growth. Um, like I never forget. I used to smoke weed heavy, 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 and I just radically accepted at one point. I'm like, man, I'm probably gonna smoke weed every day to the day I die. When the moment I told myself that, I said, damn, how weak can you be? You can do all these great things. You can sit there and go toe to toe with a guy twice your size, twice your weight. You run just as fast as any professional athlete there is, especially if you put the work in. And this is one thing you're just going to let yourself fall victim to. That started the chain reaction. I haven't smoked weed in over a year. So I mean, let me know what you think. You see, I'm having a little confliction. Everybody's different. I have my radical acceptances about things. But what are yours? What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Hit a like, hit a dislike, give me a comment, share it with your folks, have a conversation at the dinner table about it. Ciao.